Welcome to Shareholders of a Better World, brought to you by TBLI Group. At TBLI Group, we have an established reputation as an organization dedicated to building the ecosystem of global sustainability and impact investing. We're doing this through educating, advising, and facilitating transactions in global sustainability and impact business, as well as capital solutions for private companies, family offices, and fund groups. For nearly 25 years, TBLI Group has created a vertically integrated ecosystem of education to action through TBLI conferences and TBLI consulting. More about our company can be found at tbligroup.com. This webinar is brought to you by TBLI Foundation, which hosts educational learning experiences dedicated to a better planet. Through the foundation, we build sustainable communities by sharing the people and the experiences making a difference to so many of our lives around the world. Our weekly podcasts bring impact thought leaders that are doing and not only chatting. Now let me introduce my guest today. My apologies.
Not good.
Okay, my apologies. Gurminder Singh is our guest today. Welcome to TBLI Shareholders of a Better World from our studios in Amsterdam. Gurminder Singh is our guest today, and he will be sharing his experiences. He has an extensive bio. It's almost hard to kind of realize that one person has squeezed all of this into one lifetime. He's an investor and philanthropist, a humanist, a technologist, good guy, good sense of humor. And Gurminder, please please try to tell us who you are and how would you best describe yourself and your work?
Can you hear me? Hello,
Please
everyone.
unmute your
This is
headset.
Gurminder Singh. Thank you for inviting me in. I'd like to thank
Yes.
Robert and Samuel for this webinar. The little that I am about to talk to you about is from my 30 or 40 years in the world of investment banking. But I come from the community of Sikhs from northern India. We are 35 million Sikhs around the world. Certainly, we are now spread everywhere in many countries around the world. My family and I grew up in Singapore and Malaysia. I'm presently in Malaysia at my spiritual family's foster children home. I am formally from Singapore, but I have lived in the US and UK for the last 30 years. My background is as a computer IT guy in the world of accounting. In my initial years, I did my MBA in economics and finance, behavioral finance, and deployment economics, and that led me to get back into the world of technology, and I decided to bring together neuroscience, behavioral science, and computer science into my PhD world, uh, and decided that the world moving forward is going to be looking at multidisciplinary areas that converge together. As the internet got developed, virtual reality is getting developed, augmented reality is getting developed. Many technologies are converging, and I wanted to, in my PhD back in the 80s, to learn those things. And that led me to being both a technologist on one side, a investment banker on the other side, and certainly coming from a community that has upheld humanitarian efforts and human rights. That is one of the key things that my family focuses on.
Um, Thank you, Gurminder. Before we continue, if you have any specific questions, which we will get to later in the program, under your screen, you'll see open questions. Please type them in there, and then we will address them as we go forward. But I want to use the first part to try to kind of drill down and better understand the focus of Gurminder. So introduce yourself in chat on the right hand side. And if you have a specific question, just type it in under open questions. We will also timestamp the answer so you can always go back and find the answer to your questions. Gurminder, you are an investor involved in quite a few things, but now you're in lockdown in Malaysia in a philanthropic project of yourself with at-risk youth. Um, and what is particularly the goal of this particular impact project that your family and yourself are supporting?
Well, we have many underprivileged children here in Malaysia. They come from poor families, broken families, uh, you know, single parents, and this foundation was set up about 20 years ago. But we decided that we were not only going to be a foster home. We both many of my family members and others come from a spiritual background. They were spiritual priests. My uncle and others were spiritual teachers. And in that regard, we decided that this home will be a spiritual center on one side, a foster home on the other side, but we wanted to also teach them about sustainability. We wanted to teach them about organic farming. We want to teach them about where the world is going beyond. Kids today are very much aware that the world is very rapidly changing, and in that rapidly changing world, we have a world over the last 70 years that is based on fossil fuel, and today we have the opportunities of a cleaner future. And so, in that regard, I set up the institute, the International Green Technology Institute at UCLA, that is in the University in Los Angeles, that was started about 2003. And in that institute, we started looking at green technology, solar energy, wind energy, uh, you know, organic farming, many different forms of sustainable approaches. I call it green technology. The world calls it sustainable technology or clean technology. We all have different, you'd say, names, but our goal is the same. But in setting up this institute and converging with the foundation here, we want to now teach these kids where they can go in their future. What future they can build in the sustainable world. Whether they want to be farmers or they want to be green energy producers. Uh, they want to be doing many things that are now becoming, uh, a norm in the Western world. I see on the chat, Claire Smith. Claire has been talking about being vegan, being a vegetarian. Uh, the world, of course, now knows about impossible meat, uh, the different forms of different alternative meats that can be eaten. This all of this uh, tend to indicate that there are new opportunities out there, new places to invest. So these are the things that we are teaching our kids.
Here's a simple question from Ricky. She wants to know, what is the name of your foundation?
It's called Gurupuri Foundation, and the word Gurupuri basically means the city of the Guru.
Pallavi had Bharaj had a question. She wants to know how an organization that had energy companies as target audience to start working towards addressing partnering with non-energy focused groups. So if your world or your universe is mainly the energy space, and you're trying now to have them engage with the non-energy space, do you have any advice on how to bridge that gap?
I think energy has been used in every sector of the world. It does not matter whether it's the business world or the non-profit world. The energy is something that we all should be looking at, whether we are using fossil fuel or we using much more alternative fuels that are much cleaner. The world, I think, runs on energy in every sense of the word, whether we are using for just light up your office or energize an entire green uh, organic farm. What we are doing is having portable hydroponics getting built. That needs energy. I guess energy is something that is a profound and one of the largest industries in the world. It is one of the most embedded industries in the world at the present moment. So, in that regard, we need to start thinking about where are we creating our energy, what is the form of types of energy that we are creating, and we need to diversify. I'm not saying that we should have everything in the fossil fuel world completely uh, taken off, because we need what you call the heavy base load uh, energies to run industry, to run factories, to run uh, aerospace industries. Huge industries depend on brute force energy, and brute force energy will either come from hydropower or will come from fossil fuels. And that is something that's going to remain in the picture for the foreseeable future. But what we can do is reduce the amount of fossil fuel and dirty energy coming from uh, 70% of the world. Uh, 70% of the world right now is using that. We can diversify into much more newer energies, and I think that's an important element that we need to pay attention to. Till we have fusion technology or fusion energy, which is another 20 or 30 years away, we are using solar energy, wind energy, hydropower, waste to energy from bio waste. All of those things are important in energy today.
You have a very big network of family offices, investors. Sometimes you co-invest, sometimes they don't co-invest, but you have a big reach. So, and you're very passionate, I know, about agriculture and food and the environment and healthcare. How do you engage this group of asset owners and investment allocators within your network that are not at your level of commitment or consciousness? How do you get them on board, or do you just ignore them?
I actually tend not to ignore anyone. I believe that each and everyone is trying their best to do the best they can, whether it's in investing or in the different industries they come from. The need of the day is that how do you link where industry is going, where farming is going, where healthcare is going, where wellness is going. All of these things are trillion-dollar industries, and they're developing very rapidly. And in this rapidly developing opportunities that are coming up, we need to educate, not only just invest. I guess you know my earlier years have been very much attached to universities, both in North America and in Europe, where I paid attention to not only educating where the technologies are, what can we do to implement new jobs, new technologies, new inventions, new entrepreneurships. All of those things was something that I spent the last 20 plus years doing. And I realized that as much as private equity and venture capital was focused on the internet, that they will ultimately come back to the important things that are important in our lives. That is the green produce that we eat, the lactose, where it comes from, where does the cucumber come from. We cannot live in a digital world and ignore that we are living in nature, that we require nature, that we require new sustainable ways of serving our daily needs of what we eat and what we produce. So learning, educating, investing is something that I've done now for 25 years.
Okay, but I don't have the patience that you have, because sometimes some people are not interested. They're pretending to be interested, and they waste a lot of entrepreneurs and thought leaders and investors time by pretending to be serious and interested in that. Don't you get frustrated with people like that, or it just doesn't bother you at all? You take a non-judgmental approach. If so, then you're definitely a better man than I am.
I tend to not try to judge anyone. I believe that each have their own interests at play. Uh, each have their own needs, and in in a world where we have 8 billion people, I think diversity is more important than judging who does what. I guess the technology world, the investing world, the banking world have very entrenched, say, mindsets. They are slowly but surely realizing that social impact investors, uh, sustainable investing is good for their own companies. Whether it's a bank, whether it is a corporation, an old line corporation, it serves them to understand that sustainability and the new things that we are talking about are improving their bottom line rather than taking away anything and you know jeopardizing their business model. Business models do change, and I guess whether you are an old line corporation or new entrepreneur, business models will change over the period of the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So I am patient. I am in my 60s. I started when I was in my 20s, and I've learned how to be patient.
Your background is a lot in technology, and many of the
Learn is a
people.
lot.
Many
My
of,
background is both in technology and finance.
okay, but many of the people that knock on our door are looking for investment specifically in technology with 10x. At the same time, they said we really want to make the world better. But if I look at the figures, the two largest employers in the world, which is small scale agriculture, which is, according to the World Bank, 1.1 billion people, and hospitality, another 330 million working in hospitality, maybe less now because of the pandemic, because so many people have been furloughed. They're not really tech focused. They're not sexy. So if people really want to create jobs, why is it so hard to get investors to look at those two sectors?
The, this, from an investing standpoint, you're certainly looking at the return on investment, and whether the return on investment is uh, times X 10 or time X 5 or time X 3. I guess one has to pay attention to the sectors that you're looking at. Uh, you may not be technology savvy, but we all have to eat, we all have to drink, we all have to run businesses, we all have to produce products and services on a global basis. And each one of them have slowly by surely started looking into how can we improve the product, whether the product is improved from a productivity standpoint or efficiency standpoint, or looking at it from energy efficiency standpoint and green and materials standpoint. It, it's an ongoing opportunity in the supply chain. We have everything. We have supply chain that's produced from dirty coal. We have supply chain produced from oil. Um, Certainly, all our plastic in the world is produced from oil. But we have also now plastic that is biodegradable. So, in step by step, in each of the sectors that we are looking at, and we're looking at every sector in the world. We are not saying that we are only living in a world of whole foods type of market where everything is sustainable and everything is organic. We are slowly looking at opportunities and finding opportunities, even in the oil and gas industry. So I believe that when you take and you talk to investors, that you got to look within the sector that where you would come from and look at the opportunities within those sectors. There is an opportunity to bring new thinking to every sector in the world.
I'm going to take a couple of the questions that are posed here. One is there's a question: what is the age group of the children that you're serving at your Malaysian project?
We have everyone from a 5-year-old to 21, 22, or 23-year-old kids who are living here. Um, Most of them have grown up here. They have gone on to colleges and universities, but because their parents come from uh, quite a distance away from the capital, we have adult kids who are still living here with us. But we have younger ones. Uh, they are younger ones as young as 5 years old here. We have parents mothers who are living here with their children who have nowhere else to go. These children are coming from villages. They don't come from the capital city uh, of Malaysia.
Okay. How do you see the future of investing and the future of the stock market? And does it actually have a future? Or do you believe more in the illiquid space rather than the liquid space?
the room for capital markets is always going to be there. Whether we invest in the private sector, or the public sector, or the publicly listed sectors, I guess there are opportunities in all of those places. Uh, all large corporations and banks are moving towards environmental and social governance. My concept and my way of evaluating them, I call it e to the power of 2 and s to the power of 2. It's not only about environment, but the energy that you use is not only about social, but also the sustainability that you bring to the communities where these products are getting manufactured. So there are new ways to evaluate even old companies. Are they doing the right thing? Is a company like Procter and Gamble uh, starting to move towards green product lines of green materials? We are seeing opportunities there. We're seeing Walmart moving more and more towards a green supply chain. They're making the entire supply chain green. So we're seeing opportunities in many sectors. Online investing, or even new areas of investment.
A more difficult question. What was the biggest investment mistake you made? And what advice would you give future sustainable investors? So, were you one of the original investors that missed the boat with Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, or were there something similar to that?
The original mistake or opportunity that I missed, and I had a small investment in it, was a small little company back in 2005 that interviewed me uh, on a pre-Oscars green carpet event. And that company had asked me this one simple question: did you come to the green carpet in an electric vehicle, or did you come on a normal vehicle? And I had my reply to this one group on the uh, green carpet was, I walked from my hotel to the event in protest of General Motors killing its EV. Back in 2005, General Motors had an electrical vehicle, and the people who were interviewing me were the founders of Tesla Motors. And we know Tesla today. We know Elon Musk. Uh, I had written a $10,000 check uh, after that event for what they were talking about, a company called Tesla Motors. Uh, I missed the boat because I could have invested a lot more than $10,000. I diluted myself because Tesla, in the first few years, uh, had a lot of issues until Elon Musk showed up. So that that was one of my big investing mistakes.
So you actually were an investor prior to Elon Musk and Tesla, and didn't pursue that. Okay, that's a whopper. All right, here's a question from Gayaton. How do you think COVID-19 crisis could be a catalyst for more purpose impact investment and make the investment community invest in solutions to solve the world's global challenges, such as climate? Is it a breakthrough or a breakdown?
It's a breakthrough. We had an opportunity in this pandemic lockdown globally to see how fast nature can take care of itself. We saw deers and birds. Uh, we have we have We were able to see the Mount Everest from 16 kilometers away in India. There was a lot that in this pandemic lockdown that we should be glad for. We realized that being with our family, with being with our community, was something that we were not doing over the last 10, 15, 20 years, chasing after which is the next big unicorn to invest in. I guess I look at everything as an opportunity. I saw COVID-19 rapidly spread from January 23rd in Malaysia, in Singapore, very rapidly. Uh, our hospitals were getting filled, uh, and the fear was was actually fanned out by media. They didn't understand that this is COVID-19 is just a flu. It's just a new strain of the flu, a flu that where we didn't have any antibiotics or any vaccines in place, but it is no different than any other flu. The fatality rate tells us that COVID-19 is no worse than any other flu. So moving ahead, we need to start looking at how how do we move forward? What do we do that is different from our lifestyle before COVID-19? The situation that we created globally is out of our own behavior, and every opportunity that we have to change our behavior from the behavioral products that we buy over the internet. We are buying uh, whether we are buying fossil fuel products, whether we are buying green energy products, whether we are buying environmentally friendly products. All of these are opportunities, and because they are opportunities, we should be looking at how do we expand that sector. Amazon has an opportunity to make all its products green. Amazon has an opportunity to save Amazon the rainforest. But Amazon, the company, and Amazon the rainforest are at two different, I would say, in two different corners. Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world, while Amazon indigenous people are losing their homes, losing their habitat, losing the 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 community that they have built for thousands of years. We have to do something different. We have to do better. We have to be conscious about our investing. What is our investing doing? Is our investing displacing people or giving new opportunities to people? I believe we can do both.
Can you share your current most passionate project that you're involved in at the moment?
I'm most passionate right now is certainly in the farming area. I think farming, whether we're looking at permaculture or we're looking at organics or we're looking at vertical farming, looking at hydroponics, the whole uh, vert- area of farming, whether it is superfoods, whether it is herbs. We are looking at various sectors where the margins of the products that we are going to be producing uh, will sustain the investments that we are putting behind. We believe that we have identified a whole series of industries that can come out of farming, where we can have either produce fresh produce or we can produce uh, spirulina and uh, various fermented mushrooms into powders that can be protective of our health. All these are products with very high margins. So my main area right now is farming, uh, superfoods, super boosting uh, powders that we could mix with our juices and our soups and our daily dishes. I guess I want to start with food because food is what is going to sustain the human body and keep us healthy. Technology, smartphones and virtual reality is good and great, but certainly it's not going to feed a population of 8 billion to 10 billion in these next 15, 20 or 30 years.
Thank you. Another question: does the model for philanthropic investing need to change to really achieve its objective in a transformational way? Isn't it a more powerful tool when done in collaboration with private capital rather than on a standalone basis? Thank you, Christine.
I think one of the changes that has been happening in the world of social investing, social impact investing. We have heard of the word venture philanthropy, uh, but my feeling is that we can integrate it into the business model. They don't philanthropy of a company like Microsoft or a company uh, like you know let's say the largest companies in the world that are producing agricultural products. Uh, they have always kept foundations on the side. They think that philanthropy is something that we only going to do for the poor people in the community. But my feeling is we now today have the tools to integrate it into the business model. While we are producing a product, philanthropy can be done within the business model, within the pricing model, within each and every service that we produce. We can be doing both philanthropy and making a good investment at the same time and making a good gross margin of the products and services that we sell. So integrating it into the business model rather than keeping it in separate silos within the corporation or within the business is something that I am starting to see that is going to collapse and become an integrated part of a normal business.
Our next question is, what are the tools you would recommend to change our mindset toward a higher level of consciousness and sustainability?
When you start talking about consciousness, consciousness, people have different ideas of consciousness, and the world of consciousness today is going through a lot of changes, and by force. And what I mean by that is that COVID-19 and many of these issues that we are facing, uh, a, a river, a community that is dependent on their river, is finally seeing a very clean river where fish has come back. And here in Malaysia, we have many rivers where communities are still living on the banks of those rivers. We realize that this is happening globally, and one of the things that we want people to understand that the tools that we are looking at have always been in front of us. It is how do you evaluate and put into that evaluation uh, tool, are you doing enough for the communities from which you're getting the resources from, or are you leaving that community out of your equation and only looking at the profit. So at your end, how do you make certain there's a return on investment on the business that you have invested in, and how do you bring a return on investment for a community that's producing products for you? These are tools. The investment tools are there. It is just to apply those investment tools all the way down to where the community is producing the products or the material or the things that you need in your business. So there are no new tools out there. We just have to redo our tools. Look at the tools that an investment banker is using. Look at the tools that a venture capital is using. Look at the tools that a sustainable company is using. Look at the tools that a vegan company that's making vegan ice cream or vegan products are using. Those tools are very similar. We have to just add one more element to it, or few more elements to it, to make certain that we are taking care of everyone in the supply chain. Whether it's a vertical integrated business, horizontal, the supply chain goes back to communities that need to be taken care of, and we need to put them into that equation. We need to also put them into our toolbox and on how we evaluate these companies.
Thank you, Alessandro, for that question. These are, I think, similar questions, the same person. What sort of specific projects do you support? I think you touched a bit on that with relation to food and agriculture from Philip Pulver. And what kind of support for investments is your focus?
We started first investing in a company that is very well known in Europe and in America, called Yogi Tea. I think Yogi Tea is now a global company. It was started in 1989 by myself on my credit card, on the insistence of my uncle and spiritual master, Yogi Bhajan. Since then, we had invested in Peace Cereal. We have invested in many companies that are supplying products to the natural food markets in America, in Europe, in Whole Foods, in Trader Joe's. So we have continued to look for new products that we can supply into the distribution networks that we have been involved with right now for almost nearly 30 years. I'm making uh, chips out of mung beans. I'm making chips out of kidney beans. I'm making foods out of mangosteen, which is a fruit out of Malaysia. We have superfruits uh, that can be dehydrated for stronger, you say, shelf life. I'm looking at products certainly in a spectrum of industries that can supply the natural food supermarkets, and natural food supermarkets are now starting to come to Asia, where they were only known in North America and Europe. So there is opportunity to supply into the natural food network many products, not only foods, but new products that are environmentally friendly, climate friendly, vegan friendly, animal friendly. I think there's a whole list of things that we can talk about.
When you were talking before about the tools, what you're saying is similar to what we've been saying. Don't shout loudly in Mandarin to someone who speaks French. Really adapt the communications to the person that you're dealing with, or working with the tools of the individual that they understand to try to get them on board. We have a question here. We have seen technological advancement in different areas, such as phone, entertainment. However, it feels like the advancement of technology when it comes to natural energy is much slower. With big tech companies like Google and Amazon investing in oil companies, will we ever see a shift in green energy before it's too late? From Nikita.
The world of energy and world of renewable energy is something that is going on, you know, very rapidly. I am glad that companies like Microsoft and others are looking at green data centers. Uh, Technology companies did not start thinking about being green or being sustainable uh, from the offset. So let's give them some leeway to start looking at where they are getting their energy from, where their data centers are running, how their headquarters and offices are running. All these companies may have started from a technological background, but will pay more and more attention to green energy, renewable energy, and sustainability. As they do so, as these companies do so, so will be the investors in this company. So will the bankers behind companies like Google, Microsoft, and Facebook. They may not be there yet, but they will soon realize that the shareholders, the users are all going to demand them to be much more environmentally friendly, much more focused on assisting communities around the world with their technology. So I'm hopeful that some of the largest companies in the world, be them the technology companies or banks or Procter and Gamble or Walmart or Jeff Bezos, Amazon, they will start doing the right things. I think Jeff Bezos have announced a $10 billion investment to go greener. He can do a lot more than sell products that are from the fossil fuel era towards products that are much more environmentally friendly. I think every company have an opportunity, and I'm hopeful that some of the worst companies in the industry that are culprits for environmental damage around the world will someday soon realize that they too will have to join this new way of thinking. Do we do, do we run a planet based on destroying or creating new opportunities that are much greener, much more sustainable, much more friendly, much more cleaner, where where people do not have to die from asthma living near a General Electric factory. Uh, there are opportunities. There are opportunities in every sector, in every part of the world.
Looking beyond impact investing, do you see any novel digital monetary systems? I know that you were working on one a while ago, providing reciprocity mechanisms as vectors to help us achieve a more inclusive, agile, and sustainable system. Quite a
Currency
mouthful.
in the world. I mean, it's good that you bring that up. We all have heard of natural capital accounting, but I think very few understand what natural capital accounting really means. Natural capital accounting was started by the World Bank to make certain that we start looking at how do we how do we value the trees, the clean water that runs in our rivers, how do we value communities. Natural capital is something that we all should be looking at, because in impact investing, we we need to be looking at how do we put into the toolbox what is the value of a tree, rather than just what is the value of my company or what's the value of my portfolio. The tree that you grow that bears fruits in your backyard might grow for 50 years and give you fruits for 30 years. If you decide to cut that tree down well before 30 years, you're not going to get the fruits from of the lifetime of that tree. So that tree that you grow that gives you an apple or an orange has a value to you because it's producing a product that you are using. In that regard, every tree in the world, every plant, every tree, every herb, every river, every clean air opportunity is something that we can put in the toolbox, and that toolbox is called natural capital accounting. And natural capital accounting today, with the world of blockchain, we can start talking about putting new currencies out, new digital currencies that are backed by natural capital rather than capital today, which is fiat currency, which is just paper currency with no gold behind it, no asset backed behind it. How about a future where our forests worldwide is an asset? Our fruit trees in our backyard is an asset, and that asset will produce a new currency. You can call the many opportunities. There was Earth Dollar that I was involved with. There's Earth Coin out there. There are many such opportunities where they have brought blockchain, digital currency, and the natural capital world into the mix. I think these are early days. The blockchain is developing, the digital currency is developing, understanding of the natural capital and how to value that is developing. But I'm hopeful that the next wave of the blockchain will include all of these opportunities in them.
We're going to actually, I don't want to continue too much on the blockchain because actually that's a theme for next week with Will Roddick, who's actually created a currency, digital currency in Kenya. So I'm going to take a couple of other questions here. How do you see the positive transition to more respect for nature in all ways of life after COVID-19? What do you think about the biophilia concept to be applied to our lives, which suggests that humans possess an innate tendency to seek connection with nature and other forms of life?
Let me just start with the idea that when we got involved with Greenpeace, any members of Greenpeace uh, who have been around for last 40, 50 years have seen Greenpeace evolve. We have seen uh, other new organizations outside of Greenpeace, Green Cross that was run by Gorbachev come into the picture. We have now seen movies. I'm not too sure how many people remember the movie called Fern Gully. It was a animated movie back in '92, uh, by the producers of Crocodile Dundee. Uh, I bring up Fern Gully because Fern Gully was adapted by James Cameron to produce the movie Avatar. And the storyline of Avatar is that we are going to another planet to destroy their habitat to bring back minerals that we humans need. Uh, I think we can, and I am involved in the creation of a new platform out of Ferngully with my friend Wayne Young, who produced the movie Crocodile Dundee with another uh, 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 co-director. I think his name was Peter Fammer. Uh, when we start looking at what we can do to educate every generation, not only the older generation but the next generation, movies, uh, our online games, all of them are opportunities. We will go rushing to see Avatar 2, as we would go rushing to see Ferngully 2 and 3. That was about saving the environment, about saving nature. Those uh, opportunities are getting developed. I'm very much involved in it. I, there's much to talk about in that area, and I hope I get another opportunity to talk about those things.
Thank you. We're coming to the close of our webinar. Is there something that the audience who's listening can do to help you, Gurminder, with your work?
My work is always to make certain that we can create a million or billion eco entrepreneurs out there. Every sector of the world, I mean every nation of the world, people should be looking at creating new eco entrepreneurs, new eco communities around those entrepreneurs. We can You can help me by reaching out to people, to making certain that we are creating new opportunities for people around the world, not only for myself, but the best way we can do by helping me and to help you is to create a global network where we can collaborate and bring ideas to each other, no matter which country we come from the smallest nation in the world to the largest nation in the world. Whether it's a small island like Singapore or the largest island, Greenland, in the world. I want to create a billion eco entrepreneurs to feed 8 billion people and to create new opportunities for everyone involved in that network. And that is a big job. I cannot do it alone. And I need the world to out there listening to me to spread the word. There is an opportunity to create a collaborative platform where we can all work together to create these opportunities around the world.
Thank you, Gurminder, very much. So very small ambition, just a billion social entrepreneurs. I admire the fact that it doesn't seem that you need any anger management. You seem to be very chill and relaxed, and actually not judgmental. Not certainly, you're the complete opposite of myself. So thank you so much for your time. I am very, very grateful for you taking the time. It's quite late in Malaysia. I really appreciate that, and thank you for sharing your insights. I want to thank you all for coming. Next week we will have Will Ruddock, who will be dealing with blockchain, a great case study of a blockchain currency created as a result of the pandemic in Kenya and the success that they're having over there. For those of you who like our blockchains and want to support the work we're doing, please go to tbli.org and make a substantial donation with lots of zeros. I want to thank our team, Sam, our producer, Ricky, our culinary genius, Donald Trump, the head of the Truth Department, Boris Johnson, who's head of mediation collaboration, Bolsonaro, who's director of nature and conservation, and Xi Jinping, who's head of our transparency department. Thank you all very much, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.